sure enough, she's yelling at the ref, sits down, and I'm just looking forward. I don't even make eye contact with her because, quite frankly, I'm terrified. So I literally looked over at her, and she was like foaming at the mouth. Like, I don't know if it was just spit flying out from everywhere, but I'm not over exaggerating. There was like foam coming from like the sides of her mouth.
I knew there wasn't a lot of time. I didn't realize there was only 5 seconds.
I just jumped out into the crowd and started running towards them.
So as I got the puck, all of a sudden I got rolled over.
Here's Gretzky at the line. Whoa! He hit. Gretzky really belted by McCreary, and he is hurt.
It was his last shift in the NHL. He never played again.
Don't you ever let that bird stand in your crease. If he's there, you run him the over.
He was a beauty.
I'm James Duffy, and this is Beauties, hockey's greatest untold stories, the podcast based on the book of the same name, which is now available. We're not going to share all of the book's stories on the pod, just a few. Today's tale, the night Wick went blind. To the countless young hockey players who idolize her, Hailey Wickenheiser is puck perfection. On Canada's national team by age 15, she has 4 Olympic gold medals and 7 World Championship gold medals. She is the first woman to score a goal in a men's professional league in Finland in 2003, and a first-year eligible Hall of Famer. Oh, and she played softball in the Olympics too. Legend. She's so legendary, in fact, that it rattles rookies to share the ice with her on the national team. One of them is Tessa Bonhomme.
So my first ever tournament I suited up with Team Canada was Four Nations Cup in Lake Placid.
She can't even speak to her. She's so overwhelmed to be on the same team as Hailey Wickenheiser.
We were playing against the Americans, and I'd gotten a call, terrible call. And so I'm in the box, and I'm like sitting there looking at the bench thinking, like, is the coach going to look over at me and give me death stare? Like, what's happening? Like, am I going to be benched? So I'm like, whatever. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to sit down. I'm going to show that I'm involved in the game. So I stood up and was watching the penalty kill, and I was banging on the glass, screaming at the girls. Nonetheless, Wick gets a call. So now we're down 5-on-3. And so this is a big deal, obviously. And she came to the box.
Have you even spoken to
No,
her yet?
we hadn't even spoken 2 words to each other. Not even in the locker room, not on the bus. She was the front of the bus. I was the middle of the bus person at that time. And just lunch is nothing. I mean, I'm not going to go up to Wick. You know, I felt like that's not my due diligence. Right. I'm a rook. I'm just going to see how everything goes here. Anyways, she came to the box, talking to the ref the whole time, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, you know what? I should probably just take a seat and let her have her space. So I sat down, and sure enough, she's yelling at the ref, sits down, and I'm just looking forward. I don't even make eye contact with her because, quite frankly, I'm terrified. So I literally looked over at her, and she was like foaming at the mouth. Like, I don't know if it was just spit flying out from everywhere, but I'm not over exaggerating. There was like foam coming from like the sides of her mouth, and she was like swearing and like huffing and puffing, and there was spit hanging from her helmet a little bit, as there usually was. And I remember just sitting there, I'm like, this is it, this is your moment, man, this is where you say something and you guys just like totally click. And I looked at her, I'm like, bullshit call. And then she just looked at me and she was like, and then just stood up and watched the rest of it. And I was like, nah, that was a terrible time to mention anything. Like, you should have just sat there, maybe offer her water, I don't know.
Now Tessa's penalty is about to end, and Wick is blocking the door.
I remember thinking to myself, because she was so antsy and eager by the door, and I'm like, well, she's blocking the door, and like my penalty is gonna end here in like 10 seconds. Do I say excuse me, or is she gonna go out for me? Like, it felt like it and it looked like it, and I was just like, oh my god. And then finally I'm looking at the penalty box person, and they're even like, it's Hailey, you know, I'm not gonna stop her. So thank god the whistle blew, I think with like under 10 seconds left. So I stood up, I'm like, I think the coach is going to tell me to go to the bench or go on the ice. And then she just looked at me like, you're going to the bench, man. Like, you're not going on the ice. I was just like, she didn't really have to say it. She just kind of looked at me and like gave a head nod to the bench. And I was like, got it.
So that was your introduction to Wick.
That was my moment where I thought I had her. We were going to be buds forever, and it was not.
Tessa figures Wick doesn't remember a second of that. And Tessa's right. Wick doesn't. But the GOAT was a green kid once too, with her own I can't believe I did that tale. It is Wickenheiser's second season with the Canadian national team. She is just 16, playing in the final of the Pacific Rim Challenge against Team USA. After 2 periods, the game is tight. The tournament is on the line. Canada comes off the ice after 2, and their dressing room is like a shoebox.
We're all crammed into this community rink dressing room, and there was a couple spray bottles on the table, and I thought they were full of water to spray my face because I always like to pour water on my face, and usually I had snot flying out of my nose everywhere, and I'm sure my teammates can attest to the fact that I was often covered in something all over my face while playing the game. But anyway.
I guess Tessa wasn't kidding about Wick foaming at the mouth in the penalty box.
So I grabbed a spray bottle and I thought, I'll spray my face, no big deal. So I sprayed it, and it turned out to not be water, it was rubbing alcohol. I sprayed it right into my eyes, all over my face, and then I couldn't see. So I remember France St. Louis, who was like our veteran player at the time, her and Stacey Loneson, jumped up right away, and they grabbed a bunch of water bottles and basically did the old chemical face washing, dipped my head over the garbage can and just ran water over my face for a couple of minutes until I kind of could start to see again and the stinging went away.
But she's Hailey Wickenheiser, and it's a championship game. 0 chance she sits. Wick takes her regular shift for the entire 3rd period. You know how when we try to remember significant moments, we often say it's a little fuzzy? Well, for Wick, it literally is.
All I remember is that, I could see. Things were, blurry. I could see images. I could tell who the other team was and read in space. But if I had 20/20 vision, then maybe it was 20/30 for the 3rd period to get through the game. And so one of my many fine moments of stupidity through my career in the dressing room. But nonetheless, it gave the girls a good laugh. And they probably were just shaking their head and rolling their eyes and not surprised at all that I did that, because I was often pretty oblivious when I was playing the game. I was so focused on the game, I could have been doing a lot of things and not been aware of what was going on.
Wick's memory is overflowing with unforgettable moments from countless gold medal wins. But that one will forever be a blur. Beauties is written by me, James Duthie, and produced by Christoph Mamona with the support of TSN and Bell Media. The book Beauties is available wherever you get your books. I think you'll like it. And don't forget to listen to our after show, Rubber Beauties, with the cast of the Rubber Boots podcast. You can find it where you find the Rubber Boots Pod.
Beauties, they call them beauties, yeah. They play that game their own way, 'cause they're beauties.